So I want to come on here and talk because this person in DMs annoyed me, right? So I kept asking her. I was like, hey, how old are you? Because I believe you live off of mommy and daddy's money. Because she told me to go get a job. That's what her first DM was, like, go get a job, right? In response to an Insta story I made. Then I said, I from an observation, I believe you live off mommy and daddy's money. And you don't have to pay a bill. And I said, in one of the messages, I told her, go ask your dad. Sorry, I don't know what that was. But I said, go ask your daddy to keep your phone bill paid. Excuse me. Because this girl was just like being really hateful. To me, if you refuse to tell me how old you are and you look young, I'm going to assume you don't have a job and you're living off your mom and dad's money and you're acting like you're this hotshot that has a job. Stop playing make-believe. Grow up. Like, quit playing make-believe. You are not 8 or 10. You are not in those ages where you play make-believe. So grow up. But I told her, I said, do you think that homeless people are jobless? Because she called me homeless. And I was like, do you think homeless people are jobless? And then I proceeded to share a few articles, which I'm going to share in the next stories. But proceeded to share some articles, got mad, and said, well, anyways. And then tried to change the subject like, girl, Google is free. You do know that, right? I'm going to share something with you guys, and I want to have a discussion because this, to me, baffles me how people don't use Google to do research before they start saying shit that they don't know. Like, misinformation. The national correlation for homeless people estimates between 40 and 60% of homeless people are employed. There has to be something wrong with America when that's almost more than half of Americans homeless and employed. This is crazy. People can't even afford to live. Are you seriously kidding me? And these young people got to start realizing it ain't because we lazy. We got to stop telling people that we deem they're lazy, they're not doing enough, that's why they're homeless. It is capitalism. It is the government. We can't do nothing about discrimination in job places because of certain color. We're like, I'm gonna go there. I don't care if people say it's about race. Sometimes it is. America is not lazy. The government just doesn't want to have lower living costs. To me, this is insane. There are lots of people I've seen on TikTok, on my For You page, that I've went live, and people are like, well, why don't you get a job? I have one. And they're sleeping out of a car. Explain that. Because clearly people can't comprehend. You can't even take the time out of your day, right, to do research, but will take the time to bash someone else. Shows how little you care about your life. You have a house. You have a job. Great. What about the 40 to 60% of Americans that can't even afford to live? That's like, the government does not even care. America is so messed up. Between 40 to 60%, you guys, more than half of Americans are working and homeless. If that doesn't literally bother you about more than half of Americans being homeless, I don't know what does. Millennials have been through so much, okay? We had to live through, because I was in elementary school when 9/11 happened, the terrorist attacks. I was in high school when Obama announced that they had finally taken down Osama bin Laden, which people still don't believe. They believe it's a conspiracy because it was his religion. That's why they dumped him in the sea, but they believe that they fake dumped something. I don't really care for that conspiracy theory much, but we took him down, whatever. And we also had to live through the swine flu. We've lived through a lot of other viruses, but the worst of all having to be COVID. Us millennials have been through so much, and people fail to realize that COVID, no one ever really recovered from COVID. There are people that have lasting health effects. Some people have been disabled because of COVID and have to wait months, if not years, to get on disability, to fight getting on disability. This is the sad part about America, right? Even businesses have never recovered. Some businesses have suffered so bad from COVID that they've ended up going bankrupt and had to shut down. Lots of people facing homelessness. Lots of people trying to catch up from like the rent piling up and like stacking up, because they can't evict you right away because of COVID, right? When COVID happened, places were not allowed to evict you right away, but they stack up and rack up your rent, which means that you would have to pay that back, right? People never really recovered. And when I say us millennials, I'm speaking as a millennial, but everyone else had to go through COVID. I understand that there are lots of generations that went through 9/11. I understand that there are lots of generations that have went through worse than what we went through. We're going through a recession like the Great Depression in 1933, when people were riding wagons and living out of wagons and having to barely feed their family. People don't understand the Great Depression caused people to take leaps from buildings because the stock market crashed and all their money was in the stock market. Not to mention the black stock market being burned to the ground, and people not realizing why. That's not the only reason why, but slavery, why us black people ask for reparations, and why some places are giving reparations that are not enough reparations. The Great Depression in 1933, there was famine. There was people literally dying from hunger. There was people riding in wagons because at that time, people couldn't really afford cars. It cost $12 to make a car back, I believe, 1933. I'll have to do my research because I always say Google is free. But back then, cars used to be $12 to make. Now they're so expensive now, right? And we have machinery. Back then, people used to build every part on the car. Like, it wasn't by machine, it was by people. The Great Depression is what we are going through now. We're going through a recession. Like, wake up. Because, like, being homeless, it's no joke, right? You can make all these jokes about me being homeless. Everyone else is going through what I'm going through. People could barely pay their rent. Let's be honest, some of you guys really need to pay attention in these history classes. You need to really, pay attention. I hear from people struggling. I hear from people struggling just as much as I am to continue to keep their bills paid because it is so hard. And no, don't worry, I don't out people who tell me stuff, who confide in me. There's been more than a handful of people. These jobs don't care about your mental health. You could say, my mental health is bad. I need to take a break. I'm not coming into work. Some people don't even get sick paid leave. So if you have COVID, which was a thing when COVID was kind of a little still mildly bad, if you had COVID, you were required to go to work while having COVID. They didn't care. They didn't care. They don't care about your mental health. They don't care about anything you have to do. Like, hello. It's like that audio that I keep seeing from Evan Almighty, I think it is, with Eddie Murphy. There's Bruce Almighty and then there's Evan Almighty. I think it was Evan Almighty, where he says, get your head out of the rat race. Like, get your head out of the rat race. We're in a rat race. We're robots. We're designed to do as we're told. We have to work these 9-to-5 jobs to keep these corporations making money. They don't even pay you a living wage. They don't even care if your mental health is bad and you have to take a break. They tell you, tough luck. Sorry, bro. But better luck next time. And when you take a sick leave, you don't even get paid for that. The only way you can ever, and I mean the only way that you can ever take like a break from your job is if you're sick. I feel like I holler sometimes. I'm sorry, but and I went on this little rant. But anyways, there was that other audio that I shared with you all about the old man explaining about what we're designed. Like, we get 24 hours in a day. I believe one year they said it wasn't 24 hours, it's 23 hours. And we lost a day, which was 365 days, but it was 364 days in 1 year. One time. I remember that, I believe. But anyways, he said a graveyard. What is the graveyard shift, right? A graveyard is where all the dead people are. A graveyard shift means that you work after hours. After like 12 p.m., you become a zombie, right? What is a zombie? Like without your head, right? They want you to work these graveyard shifts to tire you out. Then you go to sleep all day and have to work all night, right? They don't want you to be focused on making money or becoming successful. And to be honest with you, owning a business or being a business owner or being successful is not for everyone. I know that there's people out there who really enjoy working their 9 to 5 jobs. I'm not shaming you for that. But they don't want you to really sit down and figure out how to become financially stable. They want you to live paycheck to paycheck, right? They don't want you to sit down and have time. During COVID, people really had the time to sit down and figure out what they really wanted to do with their life instead of being tied to a paycheck. We're robots. We're designed to do the same routine every day. See, for me, I could not work a 9 to 5 job. I would hate having a routine like I had when I worked at Dunkin', getting up at 4, getting ready to be there at 5, have the doors open at 6, and do it all over again and make the same sandwiches. Like, when I worked the sandwich station, I was so tired, so bored because I made the same sandwiches over and over again. Like, I hate repetition. I hate routine. I want to do things my own way. I like not knowing what's going to happen in my life. Like, I don't want to know what happens in my future. I just like knowing that, like, one day I could wake up and something interesting happens. I don't have to depend on a 9 to 5 job to get up and go to work and answer to a boss to tell me to do the same thing every day. I just don't conform to what society expects is a real job of people. But when there's people that you like, right, certain people, social media is a job for them, but for me it's not a job. I pay taxes just like everyone else on any money that I make on TikTok. So if you pay taxes, that's considered a job, isn't it not? Like, the fact that people try to decipher, you sound like those parents whose kids had a dream of singing and telling them singing is not a job. You need to become a lawyer or a doctor. And what I mean by repetition and routine is like doing the same thing over and over again. If I have to do laundry, if I have to do things like that, that's fine. But I like not knowing what my life is going to turn out like. One day I'm going to have a house. I'm going to own a house. Everything that I have had dreams about have happened, which is really weird. I can't explain it. Some people may think, oh, you're just crazy, but I have to think highly of myself because no one else is. I work my butt off, whether or not people say, oh, look, you post these, like, doing these, like, filters. That's not really hard work. I am going through a situation right now. So the only thing I can do is post drafts. My bad. Sorry. Like, what do you deem? Like, there's a lot of people that post useless crap and get paid more. I don't ever want anyone to feel bad. Because there are people who could be watching me that could be facing homelessness. There are people who could be suffering just like me. And when people make fun of homeless people, that's not cool, right? You don't realize that COVID really did a number on people and no one ever really recovered from that. People have long-lasting effects from COVID, disability-wise. Thankfully, because, I was fully vaccinated, when I got COVID, I don't have kind of like the lasting effects from COVID because when I got COVID, it wasn't as severe as people. When people get it that are fully vaccinated, they say they really feel COVID. I didn't really feel it. I just felt like I had a cold. Anyways, sorry. I went on this really long rant. But why her? Why me? You know, I work hard for myself, not for anyone else. And when I do buy that house, people are going to be like, why her? Why me? You know? Okay, whatever. Still be a hater. When I thought I saw Mr. Beast, right, coming towards me, and in that moment of delusion, like, oh, I'm going to be rich or whatever, right? I was talking to someone and I said, if it was really Mr. Beast, right, people would have been in Mr. Beast's comment section saying, why her? Why not me? Why does she get all this money? Why does she get an opportunity to become rich but not me? You need to stop getting in your own way. That's the thing. A lot of people are jealous. You may say you're not, but you are. You're the one that's in your own way. If you don't like your job, if you don't like your life, change it. No one's telling you. No one is telling you what to do with your life. Only you can do it. I hate when people sit here telling me that I'm almost 30 and I'm not doing anything with my life. I have done a lot with my life. Even if it's not owning a house right now because I'm still homeless, so be it. But what does me being homeless have to do with affecting you and pocket watching? I got to see BTS. I would have never been able to see BTS had it not been for support of people and making money on social media. I would have never. I got to see BTS. I've gotten to do a lot of amazing things that I never would have had I not had any social media. I work hard for myself, not anybody else. You should be working hard to be better than you was yesterday, to be better today. Get out of your own way, and maybe things will start happening for you. All I'm saying is that I hope that a lot of positive stuff happens to you guys, because it's difficult out here. And I'm not the only one going through it. And I know that. Everyone else is. I just, this world is just a sad place. I can't even process this genocide thing and them waiting to be nerve gassed, and how the government is, how the president is oblivious to the fact that he is contributing to a mass genocide. I can't process that. A lot of us just become somewhat disassociated sometimes, or desensitized because of our own problems we have going on, that we can't really process the full extent of this whole genocide thing. Because, I do need to speak up and bring awareness about the genocide, not because other people are, but because hearing about that, like them waiting for troops, U.S. troops to assist in nerve gassing tunnels, and finding that out through Facebook through TikTok was crazy. Like, when I saw that woman crying because she had no words, I didn't have no words either. I couldn't comprehend. I just broke down. Innocent children are losing their lives. And this narrative that is still being pushed, when that supposed footage came out about the hostages, who were very much well taken care of, mind you, said we were well taken care of. They gave us medicine. They made sure we were okay. So please tell me how that is equivalent to innocent children and innocent people being killed. Sorry, these are I don't really like to post super long stuff to my Insta stories because, people don't really watch it. They get bored halfway. But with that being said, guys, please stay positive. Please hang in there. I know that times are tough because I'm going through tough times, but we'll get through this. Hard work, persistence. It sucks out here, but we're all going through tough times, and sometimes we need someone to talk to or someone to reach out and be like, hey, you got this. Because a lot of us, we're really struggling. But as long as we, live life, stay healthy, everything will be okay. Hope you guys have a good day or night. Bye. Someone said that 9/11 and Osama bin Laden's killing didn't personally affect me. I'm going to speak on 9/11. It affected me. I couldn't even process what I was watching on the news that day when I was getting ready for school. My mom was watching Little House on the Prairie, and I remember this vividly. And this infamous video is wiped everywhere, for rightfully so, because it was probably really graphic. I saw this guy in a suit leap from a building. I didn't know what was going on. It turned to the news and this guy just jumped. And I'm trying to process and figure out why this man jumped from this building like that. Just leaped. And I think it's the infamous photo where he's upside down with his hands behind his back, falling from the sky. Yeah. And then to have to go to school to have our teacher tell us that America is going to be bombed when that was not the case. And I was very much terrified and told my mother what my teacher said. Then I went home and told my mom what happened, and her brother told her, you should have not sent them to school. It was a terrorist attack. You should have kept them home. It was a really sad day, because me being in elementary school, I was really young. I was probably like 6 or 7, 5 or 6 at the time. I don't remember. But this was in 2001. Imagine seeing people leap from a building, seeing all this chaos on the news at that age, and not even being able to fully understand that America was under attack that day. To not even fully understand something, and for you to sit there and say I wasn't personally affected. I may have not been there in New York when all of that stuff was going on, but to see graphic images like that and being a kid and not being able to process what fully happened is crazy. I don't get why people just try to do these trauma Olympics. Like, this is not the trauma Olympics who can face the most trauma. Stop telling people what trauma throughout a lot of stuff that has happened, like what trauma people faced. I was not in a school shooting, but we did have a SWAT team situation where there was AK-47s pointed at us. Now, what happened was is someone falsely took one of the walkie-talkies and called claiming there was a hostage situation, which is why the SWAT team showed up. It was a false alarm, and the student's parents ended up having to pay thousands of dollars for the SWAT team even showing up. Mind you, I've never been in a situation where, I've been in lots of situations where I've had a lot of trauma. And when people try to tell me that's not trauma, who are you to tell someone what's trauma and what's not? Like, you ain't a doctor. Like the incident in last day senior year, we were getting ready to get on the bus, right? We were all coming. There's a fight that broke out. I don't know if they either maced or pepper sprayed the people, but it was all in the air. Like, I tried my best not to inhale it. I remember when I was younger, someone thought it would be funny to mace me in my throat. And rather than just think like, oh, drink milk, because I was in elementary school at the time, I drank water. I went to the sink and got some water. Like, sorry, random story. But anyways, like, when people are so ignorant in my DMs, they just get deleted. Like, why don't you go take your negativity somewhere? Because imagine seeing things like the kids now in elementary school having to see the genocide and trying to process what they see if it pops up on their news feed. Imagine that. Like elementary school kids having to process the genocide now is what it was like for us having to process 2 planes hitting 2 buildings. One plane crashing into the Pentagon and another plane slamming into a plane field in Pennsylvania. Imagine that. And then not only that, these movies, like the movie that came out, what was it, World Trade Center, with what's his name, Nicolas Cage. I forget the other actors, but I remember specifically Nicolas Cage. That movie literally made me cry. And the United 93, when they the last part at the end when they try to take back the plane. Like, imagine having to be now trying to process a genocide, back then trying to process a terrorist attack, and wondering why 2 planes slammed into a building. We will never understand that. And what I mean by we will never understand that, we didn't understand it when we were younger. Because I was in elementary school. I definitely didn't know what was going on. To me, I just saw this guy jumping out of a building, and I was like, what is going on? You know, now we can process it because we knew that day America was under attack. Terrorists took over 4 or was it 5 planes? Like, to tell someone that they've never faced trauma is crazy. Someone could face trauma as little as picking up a twig and remembering something, or picking up a twig and having a trauma for the way the twig feels. I don't know. I can't sit here and judge people how to face trauma. When people are ignorant or when people are rude or nasty in my DMs, you just get deleted, because at this point I'm not going to argue with you about trauma Olympics and what trauma I faced. I don't have to. And this is the last thing I want to preference. Because of a lot of like horrific stuff, and we've seen a lot of horrific stuff. We can go back to the like YouTube days where they said, never YouTube this video, and you did it. Like the El Clavado. If you don't know what El Clavado is, then look it up. The guy who jumped and hit the, like, what was it, the little plank thing, and his face was split in half, and he only survived like 2 days. Like, the stuff we've seen, especially when it came to like terrorism, it still is bad. It's very bad. But to see the stuff that we've seen, and now having to see what is going on in Gaza and the mass genocide, I feel like a lot of us have become so desensitized. We can't even process the mass genocide now. I say preference. I don't know why I use these big words, and I'm like, is that a good word to use? Anyways, it is hard because, you know, like the Holocaust back in the day and now the mass genocide, to even, like, we're so desensitized. Well, I don't know about you, but me, I'm kind of like, I haven't really processed it, except the one time I cried because when I found out through TikTok that the people of Gaza were waiting for U.S. troops to supervise gassing tunnels with nerve gas. I couldn't process that. I cried. I had no words. Like, it is so hard to process. Like, I'm so desensitized because of my situation was going on, but also because I can't fathom people killing innocent women, children, people. I can't. It's like every time I hear something about Gaza, it breaks my heart. They cut off Wi-Fi. They have no communications whatsoever. The government, which Joe Biden, our president, is literally for genocide. I can't even fathom that America is on the wrong side of history. After what happened to people in the Holocaust, how could we be on the wrong side of history and be supporting something that malicious, that evil? Pumping lead into children, and then being on the other side and be like, well, you're for the beheading of children. If y'all really cared, the other side that's against Palestine, if y'all really cared about the children, you wouldn't be trying to ensue more violence on the people of Gaza. You wouldn't.